Let's write our first ever program to start our Python journey. We can write Python program in a different ways. We can write in a terminal or command prompt, in an IDE, in Jupyter Notebook, or in any kinds of text editor, or we can use Google Colab. And it's my most favorite option, as I don't need to go through the hassles of configuring environment, which is sometimes very painful. Well, let's try writing in terminal first. Let's run terminal, and in the terminal let's write Python and press enter to run the Python environment. We can see the Python environment is running. Now we can call the print function of Python and write anything inside the function. Every function comes with an opening and closing parentheses. So let's use opening and closing parentheses, and inside the parentheses let's write our message. We need to use quotation, either single or double quotation, and write the message inside quotation. Welcome to my universe. Now if we hit enter, then we will see the message in output. Great, we can see the message in output, and thus we have written our first ever Python program. Now let's run Anaconda Navigator and launch the Jupyter Notebook and try writing Python codes there. Click on the launch button. Let's click on new and click on Python 3 IPy kernel. Let's try something different this time. Let's add two values, 5 plus 6. And now press and hold Shift key and press enter to see the result. Great, we can see the result. If we want, we can add more values. Let's try adding 5 values this time. Well, if we want, we can click on run button and run and execute the program. Great, we can see our result. Here in Jupyter Notebook or in terminal or in any other way like in Google Colab or in any text editor, we can run all kinds of mathematical executions. Now let's declare two variables, assign values, and do subtraction between values. Let's name the first variable first number and assign a value. I'm assigning 10 here. Let's declare another variable and name it second number and assign a value. I'm assigning 8 here. Now let's run the subtraction operation. Simply subtract second number variable from first number variable. So I'm writing first number minus second number. Well, if we want, we can directly run this program in different ways. Like in Jupyter Notebook, we don't need to print always. If we run the program, we will see the output. Let's click on run button and we can see the output. If we want, we can also do the execution using the print function. We'll get the same result. Now let's learn more about declaring variables and value assignments in next lecture. Let's try Google Colab this time. Let's go to browser and search for Google Colaboratory. Click on the first link, Welcome to Colaboratory. If you get any pop-up like this, click on Cancel, click on File, then click on New Notebook. Now click on connect and wait till it's connected. And start writing code here. Great, we can see our output. In this lecture, we will discuss about variables and value assignments. Remember when you did math in your childhood, you wrote like this. Suppose x equal to 10 and y equal to 20, then what is the value of x plus y? Here in programming, this x and y are called variables and this 10 and 20 are values. And the equal sign is the operator, the assignment operator. So we're saying, let's assign value 10 into the variable x and value 20 into the variable y. Now let's print it and check it. To run the program, either we can click on play button here or we can hold shift key and press enter. We can see the output 30. Well, if we want, we can assign the output into another variable and then print that variable. Let's try that. Let's name the variable z and assign the value of x plus y into the variable z. And now print the variable z. Great, we can see the output. Well, if we want, we can do all other mathematical executions here, like multiplication, subtraction, division, and modulus. Great. Well, we can name our variables anything, but it's better we name it logical. Like, if we are assigning any name, then it's better we name the variable as name. If we are assigning age, then we name the variable age. Or we can be more specific, like we can say student name, teacher name, student age, teacher age, etc. We also should keep in mind that variable names cannot be started with numbers or special characters, or it cannot be started with operators. Now let's learn more about Python data types and operators in next lecture. Primarily, there are two kinds of data, and those are string or text and numbers. String or text are letters or numbers including letters. And we have to use quotation marks. Can be single or double quotation marks, but we have to use it. Like when we print welcome to my universe using the print function of Python, then we wrap our text using single quotation. Well, let's try using double quotation. And print it. We can see no difference in the output. Now let's declare our variable and name it message. And assign our message welcome to my universe, but assign it without quotation. See, there are red marks, which indicate errors. Now wrap our text using quotation mark. And the error is gone. Well, we have already noticed in previous lecture, we are not using any quotation mark while printing or assigning number values. Number values does not need any quotation mark. But if we use quotation marks to number values, then it will behave like a string. Let's try it. It will be fun. Let's declare a variable. Name it number and assign a value, a number value, and wrap the value using single quotation and print it. We don't see any difference in output. Now let's call the type function of Python and pass the variable and execute the program. Awesome. Now we can see the data type of the variable and it's string. Though we have assigned a number value to the variable, but still it's showing string because we have wrapped the value using quotation. Now let's declare another variable and name it second number and assign a value, a number value. Let's assign 10 here. And this time we will not wrap the value using quotation marks. Now let's check the type again. And this time we can see a different data type. Int, short for integer. Well, there are three types of number values in Python. And those are int or integer, float, and complex number. All the non-fraction numbers are integer, like 1, 100, 5,000, 9 millions, etc. And all the fraction numbers are float, like 0.0980, 5,000.90899, etc. We will learn about complex type data later. But for now, let's run a few more arithmetic operations on different data types. First, let's keep the value of the variable same and try to add the values of two variables and print it. When we tried to execute the program, we got an error because we're trying to add a number value with a string value. Now let's remove the quotation mark from the value assigned to the variable number and try executing the program again. And we are getting our expected result. Well, you have noticed I have executed two programs. First, I have executed where I have declared the variable, and then I have executed the program where I am doing the addition. I have executed the program where I have declared the variable because I have changed the data type of the value. Now let's get the quotation marks back. Execute this piece of program here because we have changed the data type. And now before doing the addition, let's do the typecast. Well, using typecast, we change one type of data into another type. And to do so, we call the data type as function and pass the variable or value inside the function param. We want to typecast the number variable into integer. So we have to call the type int as function and pass the variable inside function param and execute the program again to test. Great, it's working perfectly. Now let's change the value of number variable and make it pure string. Let's write my name here, Lutfer, and run the program. And we got an error saying invalid literal for int. So we could understand we can do typecast from number string to number, but not letter or text string to number. We can also add two strings or two integer value or two floating point values, but we cannot add string and integer And in the same way, we cannot add integer and floating point value. Well, there are a few more kinds of data in Python. And one of the most important type is Boolean type data. A Boolean type data is true or false. Let's declare a variable and name it yes, and assign a value. Let's assign true with T capital K's. In Python, while assigning Boolean value true or false, make sure you are using first letter as capital. Also keep in mind that Python is a case-sensitive programming language. Now let's print and check type. Great. We can see our expected result. Well, there are a few more kinds of data found in Python, like list, tuple, range, dict or dictionary, set, object, bytes, etc. We'll learn about these types later. Now let's learn more about Python operators in next lecture. But before we dive into next lecture, let's hit the subscribe button and click on bell icon to get instant notification on my new lecture upload. We have already worked with assignment operators and arithmetic operators in our previous lectures. In this lecture, let's learn more about operators in Python. Well, there are 7 kinds of operators in Python, and those are arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, logical operators, identity operators, membership operators, and bitwise operators. The arithmetic operators are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, exponentiation, and floor division. Let's try these operators once again. Let's declare 2 variables and assign values. Let's try addition operator. Let's declare 2 variables and assign values. Let's test addition operator. The addition operator adds 2 values. Now let's test subtraction operator. The subtraction operator subtracts second value from first value. The multiplication operator multiplies first value with second value. Let's test the division operator. The division operator divides first value by second value. The modulus operator shows the remainder after dividing the first value by second value. The exponentiation operator multiplies first value with power of second value. The floor division operator divides first number or first variable by the second number or second variable and shows the result without fraction. For a better understanding, let's change the value in variable, make it 9 and 2, execute this piece of code, and now execute the floor division again. We can see it has returned 4, a non-fraction number. If we divide using the division operator only, then it will return 4.5. So we can see if we use floor division operator, then we will get a non-fraction output. Now let's learn about assignment operators. The base assignment operator is equal sign. There are a few more assignment operators, and those are plus equal to, minus equal to, multiply equal to, division equal to, etc. The assignment operators can be used with every arithmetic operators. Now let's learn about Python comparison operators. Well, there are 7 comparisional operators in Python, and those are equal to, which is made of double equal sign, not equal, greater than, less than, greater than equal, and less than equal. Now let's have a look at Python logical operators. There are three Python logical operators, and those are AND, OR, NOT. Now it's time to use the operators which we learned now. Let's use Python comparison operators first. Let's declare two variables and assign values. Let's name the variables first number and second number. Now let's use the equal to comparison operator and print it. Well, using the equal to comparison operator, we can check if both the values are equal or not. Let's execute the program to test. We can see it has returned false because both values are not equal. Now let's change the value of second number and make it 10 and run the program once again. And this time it has returned true because we are saying if first number is equal to the second number, and it's true. First number is really equal to the second number. When we are comparing variables or values using comparison operators, we are actually saying if first variable is equal to the second variable or if the first value is equal to the second value. Let's try another comparison operator, the not equal to operator. Can you guess what will be the output? Yes, you are right. It will be false because we are saying if first number variable is not equal to the second number variable, which is false because both the variables hold same value. So let's run it to test. And we can see it has returned false as we expected. Well, using the greater than operator, we check if the left side value of the operator is greater than the right side value or not. So let's use the greater than operator and run the program. Before we run the program, can you guess what will be the output? Here we are saying if the value of first number variable is greater than the second number variable or not. We know both the value are same, so the statement should be wrong and it should return false. Let's run it to test. And we can see it has returned false. Let's try another operator, this time greater than or equal to operator. What are we saying now? We are saying if the value of the variable first number is greater than the value of the variable second number, or if the value of the variable first number is equal to the value of the variable second number. Maybe it's making you a little bit confusing. Let's say in simple word. Here we're saying if the first value is greater than second value, or if the first value is equal to second number. So here we're comparing two conditions, either greater or equal. We know the first value is not greater, but the first value is equal. Because one condition is becoming true, so it will return true. Let's run to test. And we can see the output. The less than operator and the less than equal operator is just the opposite of greater than operator and greater than equal operator. So at this point, you're getting a home task. I'm giving you an assignment and you have to implement less than and less than or equal to operator here. Well, using the logical operators, we can include or exclude multiple conditions together. Let's declare another variable and name it third number. And assign a value. Let's assign 9 here. Also change the value of variable second number. Make it 11. Now let's add a new condition with existing condition using the logical operator AND. let's use the logical operator and say if first number is greater than third number. Let's use parentheses to separate this condition for a better understanding. So here we are saying if the first number is greater than or equal to second number and the first number is greater than the third number. So we can see first statement is true, but the second statement is false. When we combine two statements using the logical operator AND, then it returns true only when both the statement is true. In this scenario, the first statement is true, but the second statement is false. Both the first statement and the second statement is returning true, so our output will be true. Let's run it to test. Now let's change the value of third number variable and make it 19. Execute this one and execute this one. But before we execute this program, let's understand what will be the result. We know the logical operator AND returns true only when both the statement returns true. We know our first statement will return true, but the second statement will return false, because this time the first number variable is not greater than the third number variable. So the output will be false. Let's run to test it. Now let's use the OR logical operator. The OR logical operator combines two statements and it returns true only if any one statement returns true. We know our first statement is returning true, but the second statement is returning false. Because we are using OR operator, so our output will be true. Let's run to test. There are two kinds of statements in Python: conditional statements and iterational statements. We use if, else, and else if for conditional statements. In this lecture, we will learn about if and else statement. Well, in previous lecture, we have already learned and practiced the conditional operators. Using the if statement, we can go one step further with the conditional operators. Let's add a new notebook, file, and new notebook. And rename the file. Now let's declare two variables. I'm naming them first number and second number. And assign values. Well, when we need to do something on condition, like we can say, if first number is greater than second number, then add two values, otherwise multiply two values. In such scenarios, we can use the if statement. Let's try it. To write if statement, we need to use the keyword if, then the condition, if first number is greater than second number, then colon, press enter, go to the next line and print first number plus second number. Otherwise, in Python programming, we say else instead of otherwise. So press enter again and come back in the line of if and write else. Then colon, press enter, print first number multiply by second number. Before we run the program, can you guess what will be the output? Let's try to understand. our first number variable holds value 30 and the second number variable holds value 31. So first number is smaller than second number. But we are saying if first number is greater than the second number, which is wrong or false. So it will not come inside the if block and do not do the addition. Rather, it will come inside the else section and do the multiplication. Let's run to check it. Awesome, we are correct. Well, now let's add two conditions together using the logical operation AND. Let's try it. Let's say if first number less than second number and first number greater than 10, then do the addition, else do multiplication. So here we're combining two conditions using the conditional operator AND. We're saying if first number is less than the second number, which is true. Again, we're saying if first number is greater than 10, which is also true. And combining two conditions using the conditional operator AND. So true plus true equal to true. Because the condition is true, so it will go inside the if block and print first number plus second number. Let's just run to test. Great. We can see our output as expected. Now if we say first number less than second number and first number less than 10, what will be the output? We know our first statement is true, but second statement is false because first number is not less than 10. And we know true plus false equal to false. So it will not go inside if block, rather it will go inside else block and print first number multiplied by second number. Let's run again to test. Awesome. Now at this point you have got two homeworks. Let me describe the first homework. Now you will write a program and the program will execute based on user's age. If user's age is between 0 to 2 years, then our program will print you are an infant baby. If user's age is between 3 to 8 years, then our program will print you are a child. If user's age is between 13 to 19 years, then our program will print you are a teen. If user's age is between 20 to 35 years, then our program will print you are a youngster. If user's age is between 36 to 50 years, then our program will print you are a matured man and you should have a wife and kids. Else, print you are a national treasure and we love you. Now let's describe homework 2. At this point, you will write another program. This program will also execute based on user's age. If user's age is 18 years old, then print you can vote. If user's age is 21 years old, then our program will show two messages. Print you can vote and you are matured enough to get married. Else, you are not matured enough to vote and far from getting married. Homework 2 is a little bit tricky, but easy enough to solve. I believe you all can solve it. I want every one of you to solve both the homeworks and post in comments. Thank you guys. Keep motivating me for more beautiful lectures by subscribing the channel, liking the video, and leaving some great comments. See you in next lecture. Well, our homework was, if user's age is between 0 to 2 years, then our program will print you are an infant baby. If user's age was between 3 to 12 years, then our program will print you are a child. If user's age is between 13 to 19 years, then our program will print you are a teen. If user's age is between 20 to 35 years, then our program will print you are a youngster. And if user's age is between 36 to 50 years, then our program will print you are a matured man and you should have wife and kids. Otherwise, our program will print you are a national treasure and we love you. Based on the problem, we understand that we should have a variable which will hold user's age. So let's declare a variable and name it age and assign a value. Let's assign 24. And here, let's write our first statement. First, we have to check if user's age is between 0 to 2 years, and then based on that one, we have to show one message. Print, you are an infant baby. So let's check the statement and say if user's age is greater than or equal to 0 and user's age is less than or equal to 2, colon, enter, and print you are an infant baby. And now let's duplicate this statement for a few times, for 5 times actually. And finally, let's say else, colon, and print our message. And now let's change the messages. You are a teen, you are a youngster, and you are a matured man and you should have wife and kids. Now let's delete this extra one, and here let's pass our logics. After our first statement, let's change the second statement. Here we want user's age is between 3 to 12 years. So 3 to 12 years. And then between 13 to 19, 20 to 35. Okay, my bad. Actually, there must be one more statement. And here it's teen, then 13 to 19. The message is you are a youngster. Sorry. So, okay, my bad again. This is you are an infant baby, and then you are a teen. Sorry, it will be you are a child. You are a child. And 13 to 19, you are a teen. Then 20 to 35. And you are a youngster. Then 36 to 50. You are a matured man. Else, you are a national treasure. Okay. Now let's execute the program. But if we execute the program, then we will have one small bug. So let's test it first. And we can see it's showing 2 messages. Well, because we are using if statement. If we use if statement, then it goes to every statement and checks if it's true or false. So for our case, first time it's coming here at our first statement and it's getting false, so it's coming here. Again it's getting false. It's getting false because our age is 24. And here we're checking if user's age is between 0 to 2 years. It's false. Again it's false. Again it's also false because age is not in the range of 24. And when we're coming here, then we're getting ages in the range of 24, between 30 to 35. So it's printing this message here. And then when it's coming here, it's checking if the user's age is between 36 to 50 years old, which is false. And here it's checking else. And this else is actually working with this if only. Because this if statement is wrong or false, so it's coming here in this else section. That's why we're getting two outputs. To get rid of this problem, we have to use else if. In Python, we use elif instead of else if. So let's do it. If we use else if, then the program stops executing once it gets one true statement. It means when we will be here, our program will get one true statement, then it will stop executing any more code. So let's try it. Perfect. Now let's change the age, make it 14, and execute it again. We can see it's showing you are a teen, and we are in this block, so it's printing you are a teen. And now let's learn about iterational statement. The iterational statement is commonly known as loop. Well, there are two iterational statements or loop in Python: for and while. In this lecture, we'll learn about for loop in Python. First of all, let's learn why do we need a for loop. Well, if we want our program to perform same type of task automatically for multiple times based on any condition, then either we can use for loop or while loop. Like we want to write I love you for 10 times. Then we can either print 10 times manually, or we can use for or while loop and write the print statement only once and print multiple times, means 10 times. Let's try it. To write a for loop in Python, you have to write the keyword for and then a space and then declare a variable. Let's name the variable x. Again another space, then the keyword in space, the built-in function range. The built-in function range takes 3 params, but for now we will pass 2, the starting and the ending values, which means from where the for loop will start counting and taking action and where it will end or stop executing. Actually, we want a value range of 10. So it can start from any number and end at any number, but the range must be 10. Let's pass 11 at first param and 20 at second param. A range of 10. Then colon, press enter and print our message I love you. Let's execute the program to test. Great, we can see the output. But if you close lookly and count it, then you will see there are only 9 outputs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and none. Why is that? Well, the range goes less than the last value or ending value, which means it's going till 19. and from 11 till 19 is 9. So always we have to count one addition at our ending value. For now, we need to pass 21 here. Let's run the program again and count the output again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Great, we have got our output as expected. Now let's try to print our variable instead of the message. The variable we have declared here. We will print it inside our print function instead of message. Let's run the program again. And we can see it has printed all the value from starting to the ending, but one less than the ending value. So if we want to print a number in serial from 85 to 99, then we have to pass 85 at our first param and 100 in the second param. Because we know it goes one step behind the ending param value. Let's try it. And we can see all the expected value has been printed from 85 till 99. Now let's use the third param of range function. It's the step we want to skip. Let's pass 3 here and print to check the output. We can see it has printed every third value starting from the first param value. We can also see it has not printed the last value 99. Because if we add 3 with our last printed value 97, then it will become 100. And we are supposed to print till 99, but the last value of our variable x is 100, so it has excluded the last value. Let's understand in a broad sense. First time our value was 85, and then second time it has become 85 plus 3 equal to 88. Then 88 plus 3 equal to 91. Then 91 plus 3 equal to 94. Then 94 plus 3 equal to 97. And then 97 plus 3 equal to 100. But our range value is 100, and actually range goes one step behind, which is 99. So our loop is exiting before it reaches 100. Hope you guys have understood it. So give us a thumbs up and dive into the next lecture. We will learn the while loop in the next lecture. Now let's learn while loop. The while loop works till its condition is true. It starts with the keyword while and a space and the condition. Let's say we have a variable named age with a value assigned to it 13. Now we want our program to write a message. You are so cute. Till your age is 18. So our condition is while age less than equal to 18. Now listen carefully and try to understand the fact of infinity. The variable age holds a value 13, and we are showing message while it's less than or equal to 18, which means we are showing message till it's 18, and we will stop showing message till the age is more than 18. But we are not increasing our age value, so it will always remain 13 and always remain less than or equal to 18. So the while condition will always be true, and we know the while loop keeps running till its condition is true. So it will be an infinite loop and it will never stop executing. Let's check it. Okay, we got an error because we forgot to use colon. Let's use the colon and run the program again to check. And we can see it's printing continuously. It will not stop till we exit from IDE or browser. Let's close the browser and run it again. Now, to get rid of this problem, let's increase the value of our age variable. We can say age equal to age plus 1, or we can use the additional assignment operator. Age plus equal to 1. So here, every time the while loop runs, the age will increment into 1. And while age will be 19, the condition will be false and the while loop will stop executing. Let's run to test. Great. Now our while loop is working perfectly. Hope you guys have understood the while loop. Now hit the subscribe button and give a thumbs up to the video and get ready to learn Python list in next lecture. Python does not have any array. It has only list. To create a Python list, we have to declare a variable and assign value inside square brackets. So let's declare a variable. I'm naming it numbers. And assign square brackets first. Opening and closing square brackets. And inside the square bracket, let's pass some values. Let's pass 1, 5, 9, and 14. And we have to separate these values using a comma. And we call it comma separated values. Let's print the list to test. Perfect. We can see our list is printed with its values. What if we want to print a single value from a list? Yes, we can do it. To print a single value from a list, we have to use its index. Now, you may have a question in mind, what is an index and how it works? Well, think about a library, how books are sorted in a library. You will see a lot of racks and a lot of books in every shelf of every rack. If you want a specific book, then you have to go to a specific rack and a specific shelf. The list works in the same way. Like a rack has a few shelves, a list has a few index. And every list starts with an index 0. So if we look at our list, then the index of our list will be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So if we want to print value 14 from our list, then we have to use the index number 3 of our list. To do so, we have to simply print our list using square brackets, opening and closing square brackets, and pass the index inside the square bracket. Let's run to test. Great, it's working fine. Well, what if we want to print every element of our list one by one? Yes, we can do it. And to do so, we have to use the for loop. You guys can pause the video and try yourself first. If you have failed to do, then let's do it together. We can say for and declare a variable. We can name the variable anything like A, B, C or XYZ, but it's better the variable name makes sense. I'm naming it number. So for number in our list, the name of our list is numbers. Then colon, press enter and print the variable number. Now let's run to test. Let's comment this first and run it again. We can see all the value has been printed one by one. Now let's try another way. This time we will use the range function. Let's comment this piece of code first. To comment any line of codes, first we have to select the codes, and then if you are using Windows or Linux, then press and hold Ctrl key and press /. And if you are using Mac, then press and hold Command key and press /. Now let's say for I in range. What will be our range? Our range will be till the length of our list, and we can get the length of our list using len function. So for I in range and the len function, and inside the len function let's pass our list numbers, colon, press enter and print I. Can you guess what will it print? Let's comment this piece of code again and print the length of our list. We can see the length of our list is 4, and we know our list has 4 elements. So length of a list equal to the elements of a list. Now try to understand what will our for loop print. Let's uncomment this piece of code, and to uncomment any piece of code we have to do the exact same thing. Press and hold Command key and press /. We know our loop will print till 4 and start from 0. That's how for loop in Python works. We have already learned and practiced in our previous lectures. Let's run to test. Comment this piece of code and run again to test. We can see it has printed from 0 to 4. And we already knew that the range function goes just one step behind the target value. So our target value is 4 and it's going just one step behind till 3. Now if you look closely, then you will understand that our program has printed the indexes of our list. So if we want, then we can also print the values of our list numbers using these indexes. Before I show you, try it yourself and write in comment. Simply we have to call our list numbers and pass the index which is available inside our variable I. And of course we have to pass using square brackets. Let's run to test. Voila. Well, if we want, then we can also create a list of string values, or we can say text values. Let's declare another variable and name it names and assign some values. I'm assigning Anika Monica, Maria, and Sophia. Now let's access a value using index. Let's pass 1 here to print Monica. We can see it has printed our target value. Now let's print the values of our name list using for loop. Name in names and print name. Let's run to test. We can see it has printed all the names from our name list. Well, what about range function? Let's try that. Awesome, it's working fine. Well, if we want, we can also assign new values to an existing list or replace old value with new value. Let's replace a value first. Let's say we want to replace Monica. Monica is at index 1. So we can simply assign new value at index 1 of our list names. So it will be names index 1 and assign new value. Let's assign Loria and run the program to test. We can see Monica has been replaced with Loria. Now let's add a new value. Python list has a built-in function append. We have to simply call our list, in our case names, and call the built-in Python list function append. We have to use dot to call the append function. Dot append, and we have to pass the function parentheses, opening and closing parentheses, and inside the parentheses we can pass our new value. Let's pass Ria and run the program again to test. And we can see our new value Ria has been added to our list names. Don't forget to subscribe the channel. Let's dive into the next lecture to learn more about Python. In this lecture, we'll learn about Python function or method. Function or method is a code block where we can do anything based on our need. Like we can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, or write any condition or any loop, whatever we need. If function is declared or written inside a class, then it's called method. To write a function or method in Python, we need to use the keyword def and then space and the name of the function, just like we did for declaring a variable. So def, and let's name our function addition. Add opening and closing parentheses, and to create function block we need to use colon. In Python we use colon to create any code block. It can be for if block or for while block or function block. Now let's hit enter, and here we want to add two values. Let's add 10 plus 15 and print it. And now to run and execute the function, we have to call the function. To call a function, simply we need to write the function name and use opening and closing parentheses. So let's call the function. Press enter and come in the line of the definition of function and call the function addition. And now let's run the program to test. Great, we can see our output. Now every time we call the function, it will always print 25. What if we want to make it dynamic? To do so, you have to declare two variables inside the function parentheses. Here, let's name the variable first number and second number. And we have to separate these variables using comma. We can pass as many variables we need, but after every variable we have to use comma. But we don't need to use comma at the end of our last variable. These variables are called parameters. And now let's replace these values 10 and 15 with the parameters. So here, first number and second number. And now if we run our program, we will get nothing. See, we are getting no result. Rather, we are getting one error. It's saying missing two required positional arguments, first number and second number. To resolve this problem, we have to pass argument values to our function. At our first parameter or first argument, we want to pass 10, and at our second parameter or second argument, we want to pass 25. Like in the function parentheses, we have used comma to separate two variables. We have to do the same thing in our function arguments. We have to use comma to separate multiple values. So 10, 25. No, let's make it 15. Now let's run the program again to test. Great, it's working fine. Now we can pass any value if we want and check it. Like instead of 10, let's pass 100, and instead of 15, let's pass 150 and run the program again to test. Well, if we need to use this addition value, the function value what we can see in our output, in somewhere else, like if we want to assign in a variable and then reuse this value somewhere else, how can we do that? Let's try assigning into variable first. I'm naming the variable result and assigning the output of our function. And now to test, I'm printing the result variable and removing this print statement from here and running the program again to test. We can see it has returned none, but we need the output whatever we do inside our function. Like for now, we are doing addition. So we are expecting the addition of two values as our output. To get that, we have to return it. Whatever we do in our function and whatever the result or outcome comes from our function, if we return that, then we can reuse it. Let's try returning the addition statement and run the program again. Awesome, it's working perfectly. We have already used a lot of functions in our previous lectures, like print function and range function, len function, etc. In our next lectures, we will use a lot of functions and also a lot of methods. Whenever I will call it's a method, be sure it's written inside one class. And whenever I will call something as function, be sure it's not written inside any class. So let's get ready to learn something more exciting in our next lectures. Let's learn a few advanced topics about Python list. If we want to access the last element of a list, then we can use either len function or simply use -1. Let's try both. Let's try the len function first. So we will write names, the square bracket, and inside the square bracket we will use len function, and inside the len function we'll pass our list names and -1. Because the index of list starts from 0, so the last index becomes 1 less than the length of the list. That's why we're writing length of the list -1. Let's run to test. Great. We can see the last element of our list. Now let's use only -1. We can see both are working perfectly. Well, if we don't want to print the whole list, rather we want to print a range of indexes, like from index 3 to the last of the list, or from index 5 to 7, we can do it by passing a range of index. Let's try it. Let's add a few more values to our name list. And delete all other codes to make the window clean. Now let's say we want to print our list from index 1 to 3. So we will print our list names, and for passing index let's use square bracket as usual, and first we have to pass from index, then colon, then to index. In our case we want to print from index 1 till index 3. Let's print to test. As we know, Python range goes just 1 behind the target value, so it's going till index 2. As we want to print till index 3, so we have to pass 4 here. Let's run the program again to check. Great, it's working fine this time. Well, if we skip the last or ending index, then it will print till the end element of list. Let's try it. So it's printing from index 1 till the end of the list. And if we skip the starting index, then it will start printing from index 0 and print till the last index or ending index. So let's skip the first index and pass 5 here and run to test. We can see it's printing from the index 0 to the index 4. If we want to print till index 5, then as usual we have to pass 6 here. Great. Well, like we can add or update values in a list, we can also delete or remove an item from list. We have to use the remove function of the list and pass the value we want to delete. Let's try it. Let's print the whole list before deleting an item from list, and then delete an item from list using the remove method of list. Let's say we want to delete Isabella. And then print the list again. Let's run to test. Great. We can see after we called the remove function and pass our value, the value we have passed in the remove function is deleted from our list. Keep in mind that if the value we are passing inside a remove function does not exist in our list, then we will get an error. Let's try it. So we have to be careful about deleting an item from list, and we have to pass an exact value which already exists in the list. Well, if we want, we can use the pop method of list to delete an item using index. Like if we want to delete the first item of a list, then simply we will write the list name, for our case names dot pop, and inside the pop method we will pass our index 0. Let's run to test. We can see Isabella and Anika both don't exist in our list. And if we don't pass any index inside our pop method, then simply it will remove the last element from our list. Let's try it. We can see both Isabella and Emilia has been removed or deleted from our list. Using this sort method, we can sort a list in an ascending or descending order. Let's try it. We can see our list is sorted, and it's sorted in ascending order. If we want to sort in descending order, then we have to pass one parameter or argument in our sort method. Reverse equal to true. Let's run the program again to test. Great. Now we can see our list is sorted in descending order. Well, if we want, we can join multiple lists together using the addition arithmetic operator. Let's declare a variable and name it joined list and join our both list, numbers and names, using the addition arithmetic operator. And now let's print our joined list. We can see both our list has been joined and combined into one list. And using the clear method of list, we can clear a whole list. Let's try it. Joined list dot clear. And run the program to test. We can see our list has been cleared perfectly. Now let's learn about multi-dimensional list in our next lecture. But before that, do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon and leave some great comments to inspire me. See you in next lecture. In this lecture, we'll learn about dimensions of list. The list we worked till our previous lecture is single dimension or one dimension list. If we want, we can create a two-dimension list. Two-dimension list is simply list inside a list. If there is one or more lists inside a list, then we call it two-dimension list. Let's declare a new list and name it names 2D and assign empty square brackets. And inside the square brackets, let's add another 2 square brackets and pass a few values in both the list. And print it. We can see it's showing list inside list. Now if we want to print the first list, then we have to pass index, as our first list is at index 0 of main list. Well, let's declare the list again to understand. Let's name it main list and assign an empty square bracket to make it list. And inside our main list at the 0th index, we're passing another list instead of a single value. Let's compare with our names list. At the first index of our names list, there is a string value Anika. But at the first index of our names 2D list, there is a list. Hope you have understand. In our print function, let's pass index 0 to print the first list. And we can see it's printing our first list. But if we want to print any value instead of a list, then we have to pass another index. Look at it closely. Think we have only this list and we want to print Natalia. Then what would we do? We would pass only -1 because Natalia is at the end of our list. So let's try it. And we can see it's printing perfectly. Now, if we want, we can print it using loop. We have to simply write for and names. Let's say names 1 in names 2D colon and then print names. Names 1. Let's run the program to test. We will see some interesting fact here. We can see instead of printing single value, it has printed 2 lists. Because names 2D is a 2-dimension array, so using one for loop, we will go one step inside. If we want to access the value, then we have to use another for loop. So we will say for name in names 1, then print name. We can see it's printing perfectly. So if there is 1-dimension array, we have to use single for. If there is 2-dimension array, then we have to use 2 for loop, one for loop inside another for loop, or one single nested for loop. And if there is a 3-dimension array, then we have to use 3 for loop, one inside another and another inside one. And if we have a 3-dimension list, then we have to use 3 for loop, or we can say 3 nested for loop. In the same way, if we have 5-dimension array, then we have to use 5 for loop, or we can say 5 nested for loop. Let's try one 5-dimension list. Names 5D. So there is one list, and inside the list there is another one, and inside this there is another one. This is number 3, number 4, and number 5. So inside the 5th list, we will assign few values. I'm just copying this one to save time. So if we want to print value from this list, then we have to use 5 index. Let's try it. Let's first print directly without passing any index. Names 5D, and comment this piece of code and run it. Sorry, we forgot to use comma. And we can see our 5-dimension list is printed. Now if we want to print the first list, then we have to use the index 0 and another first index 0, another first index 0. Let's try this 3 first. And we can see still there are 2 more lists. List number 4, the final list, and here if we want to print Natalia, we can just simply pass -1. And it's working perfectly. And if we want to print it using a for loop, then simply we have to use 5 nested for. Let's try it. For names 4 in names 5D, for names 3 in names 4, for names 2 in names 3 for names 1 in names 2 and for name in names 1, then print name. Now let's run the program to test. And we can see it has printed perfectly. Hope you guys have understand the dimensions of list, how it's declared and how it's used. Now let's learn about tuple, set and dictionaries in Python in next lesson. In this lecture, we will discuss about Python tuple, set and dictionary. Let's first discuss about tuple. Tuple is same as list in Python. There is just one major difference. Tuples are immutable objects and lists are mutable. It means tuples cannot be changed once created. It means we cannot update tuple values like we did in our list. Let's first create a tuple. I'm naming it names and assigning tuple value. We need to use opening and closing parentheses instead of square brackets, and inside the parentheses we will pass values in the same way we passed in list. Now let's try to print it. Great. Now, if we want, we can print a single value using index, like we did in list. And interestingly, we need to use square brackets to pass index. Let's print the first value. So we will pass 0 here. And we can see the output as expected. Well, we can also look through the tuple. For name in names colon and print name. Great. If we want, we can pass a range of index like we did in list. Let's try it. Let's try to print from index 1 to index 3. And we know in Python, our target goes just one step behind the target value. So we have to pass 4 here if we want to print till index 3. So it will print from index 1 till index 3. Let's try it. And we can see our output. But we cannot update any value once a tuple is created. Let's try to update the first value, the value of index 0. And let's run the program to test. We can see we are getting a compile time error saying tuple object does not support item assignment. We can also join two or multiple tuples using the additional arithmetic operator. Let's try it. Let's declare another tuple. I'm naming it numbers. Now let's declare another variable. Name it join tuple and join these two tuples and assign in this variable. And print it to check. Great, it's working perfectly. Now let's learn about set in Python. Set is also almost same as Python list, but we need to use curly braces instead of square brackets and assign value in the same way. A set always holds unique values, but there are two major differences. One is a set always holds unique values, and another difference is we cannot access a set element using index like we did in our list or tuple. So let's declare a set. I'm naming it names as usual and assign set values. We know we have to use curly braces instead of square brackets. And inside the curly braces, we have to pass values in the same way we did in set or list. So I'm passing Maria, Sadia, Natalia, and Maria again to check if it throws an error or whatever it does. As we already knew, a set is always unique, so we are gonna test it. Let's print the set and run the program to test. Awesome. We can see though we have passed duplicate values, but still it has stored unique values to our set. As we know we cannot access a set element using index like we did in list and tuple, so we have to use loop to print all the elements of a set. Let's try it. So we can say for name in names colon, and in the next line let's print name and run the program. Great, our set is working perfectly. Well, we can add a new item to our set using the add method of set. So we can say names add, and let's pass a new value here and run the program to test. Great, it's working perfectly. And we can also remove an item using the remove method of set. So let's do it. Let's remove Sadia. Now print the set again and run the program to test. And we can see the remove method has removed Sadia from the set perfectly. Now let's learn about dictionary in Python. Dictionary in Python also has some similarities with list and tuple. In a dictionary, we assign value to a dictionary using curly braces, and value goes in key value pair, like a real dictionary where we get our word at the left side and the meaning at the right side. In the same way, in Python dictionary, the key goes at the left side, then colon, and then the value. Let's declare a variable. I'm naming it names and assign curly braces, and inside the curly braces let's declare a few keys, and following the key use the colon and assign some values. Well, keys or values both can be string or number. Let's name the key name and assign a value, another key age, assign the value, another key 1, assign value, and now let's try to use duplicate keys, name and the value, and let's print the dictionary using the print function. We can see it's working perfectly, it has printed perfectly, it has not thrown any error, but it has escaped duplicate keys. Let's try using duplicate value. I'm making unique key but duplicate value. and printing it again to check. We can see duplicate value is printed, but duplicate key is not printed. So we can say, like set holds unique values, dictionary holds unique keys. Well, if we want, we can print an specific value of a dictionary using its keys. Like if we want to print age of this dictionary, then we can pass the key using square brackets age and print it. Perfect. And we can print all the values or keys using the keys or values function. Let's try it. Names.keys and names.values, and we can use a for loop to print all the values of a dictionary or all the keys of a dictionary. Like we can say for key in names.keys and print key. And in the same way we can say for value in names.values and print value. Well, using the update method of dictionary, we can pass a new value to update using key. Let's try to update age. So we can say names.update and the key age, and instead of 25, let's pass 30 and run the program to check. In the first line, we can see the age is 25, and after updating the age, we can see the for loop has printed age 30. If we want, we can update its value using only square brackets and its key. So let's try it. The key age and assign new value 35 and print again. We can see it's working perfectly. And if we want, we can add a new key and value using square brackets. Let's say we want to add age of experiences. So we can say names experiences and pass a value. Let's say 10 and print again to test. We can see 10 has been added at the end. Now let's get rid of this for loop and print the names dictionary directly using the print function. And we can see the key value pairs in the output, including the new key and value. Well, we can remove an item using the pop item method, and it will always remove the last element. Let's try it. We can see in our last output, the last key and value has been removed. And if we want, we can use the pop method and we can remove a specific value using a key. Let's try it. Great. We can see in our last output, the key age and its value has been removed. For now, that's all about Python tuple, set, and dictionary. Let's learn something new and more exciting in our next lecture. We have already learned about data types in Python. Primarily, there are two kinds of data, and those are numbers and text or string. In this lecture, we'll learn about text type data, which is called a string in Python. We know string are letters or text or numbers including text. And we always need to wrap our string values using quotation, either single or double quotation but we have to wrap it. Let's declare a variable. Name it message and assign a value and simply print it. Great, it's working. Now, in our variable message, let's assign multi-line string value. We can see we're getting an error. To solve this error, we can simply use opening single quotation 3 times and closing single quotation 3 times. And the error is gone. Let's print to test. Great, it has printed perfectly. Well, we can also use double quotation instead of single quotation. If we want, we can check the length of a string using the len function. And if we want, we can also print any specific character or letter from a string. Simply, we have to count its position number and print it as list index. Let's try it. We have to keep in mind space is also taking a memory. So when we count the position of a string, we have to include the white or blank space. Like if we want to print letter C from first line, then we have to pass the index number 7 as the index starts from 0, like an index of list or tuple. Let's do that. And run the program to test. Okay, we cannot see the output because it has printed blank space. The reason is we have used enter at the beginning. So we have to pass index 8 instead of 7. Well, we can also print letter C from our first line. If we go back here, if we use one backspace. Now let's pass 7 instead of 8 here and run the program again to test. Awesome, it's working perfectly. Hope you guys have understand how index is working. Now if we want, we can pass a range of indexes like we did in tuple or list. Like if we want to print the word computer, then we have to pass the index 7 at our first position or at our starting position and 15 at ending position. Now let's run the program to test. Great. Well, if we want to make all the letter capital, then we can use upper function. And using the lower function or lower method, we can make all the letter lowercase. And using the find string method, we can find the index of a word. Let's try it. Let's try to find index of computer. We can see it's at the position 7. And using the replace method of string, we can replace one string value with another string value. Let's try it. Let's replace and using ampersand and run the program to test. We can see it has changed and is replaced with ampersand. And using the split method of a string, we can convert a string into list. Let's try it. And we can see the string is converted into a string. Well, if we want, then we can loop through a string like we do in a list or tuple. So let's try it. Now let's look at a format method of string. Well, when we need to pass values inside a string from different variables or from list, then we can do it using the format method of string. And we need to use curly braces where we want to print our expected values. Let's try one. Let's declare a few variables and assign values. Well, here in the message variable, we have assigned one string value, and everywhere we have used curly braces. We want to print the value of a variable declared above. And we can do that using the format method of string. Let's try it. And inside the format method, we have to pass all the variables respectively. It means we have to pass positionally. We have to pass these variables maintaining serial. Here we want to print I want to buy 10 pieces of t-shirt for $99.99. So at first argument we'll pass the variable quantity, then item, and finally price. Now let's assign it in a variable and print it. And run the program to test. And it's working perfectly. Well, if we want, then we can also pass index number inside the curly braces. Let's say here we want to pass index 2, here index 1, and here index 0. Because we want to print index 0 here, so our price must be at 0 position. And then following index 1, the item must be at 2nd position, and finally quantity. Let's run the program again to test. And we can see it's working perfectly. In this lecture, we'll learn about Python datetime and math module. First, we will learn and practice Python datetime module. And to work with dates in Python, we need to import the datetime module. So let's write import datetime. And then we can print the current date and time using the now method of datetime object of datetime module. Let's try it. We are getting a message in output saying built-in method of now type object and something something. Because it's a method and we are using it as field, so we are getting this message. So let's try printing as method. And now we can see current date and time. Well, if we want, then we can print only date. But for that, we have to assign this now method in one variable. Let's do that. I'm naming the variable underscore time. And now let's print the current date. And we can do that using the date method. Great. we can see our current date. Now let's print the current time using the time method. We can also print what is the number of day today using the field day. In the same way, we can print month, year, minute, and hour. And we can also print second. We can also get the weekday, and it will print one integer number where 0 stands for Monday and 6 stands for Sunday. Let's try it. We can see in output it has printed 1, and at the top right corner we can see the day, Tuesday. Well, we can get the name of the current day using the string from time method. Let's try it. strf time stands for string from time, and it takes a string argument. Well, this method is very useful. We can get the name of the month, day, year, or the full date in different format using this method. So let's try it. To print the name of the current day, we have to pass %sign or modulus and capital A. We can pass a small cap A to print the day name in short format. And we can pass capital B to print the name of the month. And a small cap B to print the short name of the month. Well, I will add a sheet as a reference of all the format codes. Now let's learn about Python built-in math functions and the math module. There are 4 very important built-in math functions we need to know. First, the max function. The built-in math function max takes up to 256 arguments and returns the maximum value among them. Let's try with 5 arguments. Now let's print it to test. And we can see it's working perfectly. The min function also takes up to 256 arguments and returns the minimum value among them. Let's give it a try. It should print 4. And it's working perfectly. The ABS function returns the absolute positive value of the specified number. Let's directly try it inside print function. So ABS, and let's pass minus 100 and run to test. And we can see it has returned absolute positive value. Now let's try the PO method. The PO method or function returns the value of x or to the y. So let's try it. We can pass 4 and 4 and run it to test. And we can see it's working perfectly. To be oversure, we can print manually. So print 4 into 4 into 4 into 4. So we're correct. Well, if we want to work with ceiling and floor or pi and square root, then we have to import the math module. So let's import the math module and try square root first. And we can see it has returned the perfect answer. We know the square root of 64 is 8. What about the ceiling method? Let's try it. The ceiling method, actually it's sail. The sail or ceiling method rounds a number upwards to its nearest integer. So it should print 65. Let's try it. And the floor method rounds a number downwards to its nearest integer. So it should print 64. Let's try it. And we can see it has returned or printed 64. Well, we have already learned about a few data types like string, int or integer, float, boolean, etc. Now, if we want, we can make our own data type. And it's very easy. All we have to do, add a keyword class and name our data type. Let's name it student, colon, and press enter. And here inside our data type student, let's declare a few variables. We know a student has an ID, a name, age, and fee. And now let's assign values to these variables. So ID equal to, I'm assigning 101, name Yash, age 3, and fee 99.99. And now let's print and show these variables values. And to do so, we have to go outside of our own data types block. We know we create a code block in Python using colon. And to go outside of the code block, we have to simply come in the align of the keywords like if, for, while, or class. So let's come in this align here, and here let's declare a variable. As we have named our type student, let's name it same. But we have to keep in mind we named our type with capital case at the beginning. So we have to name our variable with lowercase letters only. Student equal to, and here let's assign our own type, our custom type, student with opening and closing parentheses, like we do for functions and methods. And now if we want, we can print any variable and see its value by using one single dot. Student dot ID and print it. Great, it's working fine. Let's check all other variables. Awesome, everything is working perfectly. You see, previously we were able to add a single type of data only, but now when we have our own custom type data, we can add multiple types of data like string, integer, float, etc. Well, we will know more about custom type data in the next lecture. But before that, do subscribe the channel and leave some great comments to inspire me. So to work with various types of data, to make a custom type, we need to actually create a class. And a class is called the blueprint of an object. And here, we're actually initializing our object. And this variable is called an instance, an object instance. And these variables are called the class or object properties or fields. And when we assign data like this, then it becomes an object. Without data, it's only an object instance, not an object. So in our case, it's both an object instance and an object, as it already has data assigned. But if we have a class without pre-assigned data, so let's create another class and name it employee. Class. So if we don't assign data inside our class, rather we want to assign data from outside the class, then we have to declare one constructor. And for that, we have to define the init method. So def underscore underscore init underscore underscore and opening and closing parenthesis colon, press enter. And here we will actually declare all our class properties or class field, whatever we say. And we have to use the self keyword to declare all the class fields. And to get access of the self keyword, we have to actually pass the self keyword inside our init method self, and then self dot whatever we name here, that will be our class field name. So id, and then self dot name, self dot age, and for our employee we want one field named salary, self dot salary. And now let's go outside of our class, and here let's create an object instance of our class. So employee equal to employee, and execute the program. And we're getting one error. It's saying employee object has no attribute id. And to get rid of this error, we have to assign, actually we can say we have to give an option to assign data to this field. So we can accept another parameter here, name it id, and assign it here id. In the same way, name, age, and salary. Name, age, and salary. Not necessarily this field name and this parameter name should be same. We can name anything here. Let's name it n, a, and s. So n, a, s. This one is I and I. And now if we want to initialize our class object, then we will get another error. Let's try that first. And we're getting an error. It's saying missing 4 required positional arguments. To get rid of this error, we have to assign some default data. We can say none, okay, not colon, equal to none and here none. And this time we are not getting any error. And now our class field has no data. So it's no more an object, it's simply an object instance. And now we can assign data from outside of our class. Employee.id equal to 101. Shoot it and print it. Awesome. It's working perfectly. And if we want, then we can get rid of this default data and pass data while creating an object. We can say 101, then cash, then age and salary. Execute it, and now we don't need to assign any data. We already have data and we can directly print it. So let's delete this cell and directly print it. Great, we can see it's working perfectly. Now at this point, let's declare a method inside our class. Def, and let's name our method getEmployeeInfo. And inside the method block, let's get all the employee info and return it. So we can say return ID concatenate with empty string, then concatenate name and salary. And we can see one yellow squiggly here. Let's hover over it. And we can see it's saying salary is not defined. Actually, when we define any property inside init method, or we can say inside class constructor, then we have to define using the self keyword. In the same way, when we want to get access to the class properties, which is declared inside the class constructor using the self keyword, or inside some other method using the self keyword, then to get access of this property, we have to use self keyword again. So let's pass self keyword here inside method param and use self.id, self.name, self.age and self.salary, and our warning is gone. Now let's execute this code again. This time let's try to get the employee name first. Great, working perfectly. And now let's get the employee info and assign in a variable. So I'm saying result equal to employee dot employee info, and opening and closing parentheses as we do for function or method calling, and execute it. We'll get an error, but that doesn't matter. Let's execute it, get the error, read it and solve it. And we're getting an error. It's saying unsupported operands types for plus, int and string. So we have to actually typecast it. You can say string. What we are doing, we are converting every kind of data into a string, because we're trying to concatenate our data, and we can concatenate our string data only. That's why I'm converting every data into a string, concatenating it and returning it. Execute the program first. and we don't need to execute this program. We can just directly execute it here and then print the result variable. Awesome. Everything is working perfectly. Hope you guys have understand everything regarding class, object properties or class field, whatever we say, class constructor and methods. Now let's learn about inheritance and polymorphism in our next lecture. Now it's time for us to learn and understand Python scope. Scope of Python variables, functions, methods, private fields, etc. And to understand the Python scope, we have to actually start writing codes. So let's start writing codes. Let's declare a variable and I'm naming it name and assigning some random name. And now I'm declaring one function and naming it scope testing. And inside the method, simply I'm printing the name. And outside of the method, let's call the method and run the program to test. But before we run the program, can you tell me what will happen? Yeah, it's pretty easy. It will just print the name. Okay, so let's test it. And we can see it has printed the name. And if we want, we can also print this name variable from outside of the function. We can say print outside of the function and we can just pass the name. And for that, we have to actually use string formatting. So we can just say format the string and here let's pass our variable name and execute it. And we can see we can access this variable both from inside the method and outside the method. So this variable's scope is global. Now if we declare one variable inside our function, so let's do that. Age is 2. And if we want to print it here inside the function, then it's possible, we know that. But what if we want to print it from outside the function? Is it possible? So let's try that. Print outside the function and we can say print age outside of the function and try to print the age. And we're getting one warning. What is it saying? It's saying age is not defined. And if we run the program, we'll definitely get an error. So let's run the program and we can say name age is not defined. So the scope of the variable age is local, not global. In the same way, if we declare another function inside this scope testing function, so let's try it and name it print, okay, def print name. And here print format the string and say printing name from inside the function and here name. Look, we're getting access to this name variable here inside the function. Not only inside the function but also the function inside the function. But if we try to print it here outside of the function, then we will not get access to this print name function. So let's try that. We can say print name, and we are getting one warning. What is it saying? It's saying the same message. Print name is not defined because we don't have access to this print name function. The reason is the scope of this print name function is local, just inside this scope testing method. So if we declare any variable inside our method, can we make it global? Yes, we can make it global by adding the keyword global. And now we have to get rid of this assignment here and assign in somewhere else. Yes, we can assign inside this method also. So we can say age equal to 2. And then if we run it, let's comment this one and comment this one so that we can be oversure. Also, let's comment this one. And now if we run the program, then it should print our age. Yes, we have printed our age successfully. And though we have declared our variable inside the method, but it's global now. And we made it global by using the global keyword. Now, what about private fields and methods? So let's create one class. I'm naming the class student. And inside the class, I'm creating one constructor, def init, passing the self keyword here for creating properties or fields. And inside the init method, I mean the constructor, I'm saying self dot name and passing name here, name, and also age, also role. So name equal to name. Now I'm declaring another property using the self keyword, but this time I'm adding one single underscore. So underscore age equal to age. Another property or field, self dot, but this time using double underscore, role and role. Now I'm declaring one method. We can see one warning. So let's hover over it. We can see role is not defined. Okay, I misspelled. Okay, now let's declare one method here, def, and let's name the method underscore. Okay, only get age, get name. And now here let's simply return the name. We knew about returning statement or returning from function in our Python function and method lecture, which is lecture number 10. So you can look at that. So if you have forgotten, then you can look at the lecture again and pass the self keyword inside the method param. Now let's declare two more methods, one for getting age and another for getting role, def, but this time I'm adding one underscore at the beginning, underscore get age, self, and here return underscore age. Okay, self dot underscore age. Now I'm declaring one method and saying it def underscore underscore get role, and then the self keyword inside the method param, and from here I'm returning self dot underscore underscore role. And now I'm declaring one more method and saying def get student info. from here I'm returning everything actually. So I'm saying return and the string and the string formatter, and then here name, then self dot name, and then space. Okay, the reason is we have not passed the self inside our method param. Self keyword, and then age. Okay, capital A, and here using the string formatter we can say self dot underscore age, and then we're saying role, and here we can say self dot underscore role. Now outside of the class, let's initiate the class and create the object instance. So I can say student equal to student, and we need to pass 3 data inside our constructor param. Okay, name is Wasna, age is 2, and role is 1. Wasna is a very good student, and execute it. Okay, there is no problem in the code. It has executed successfully. And now let's print the student object. Print. Okay, it's working fine. Now let's print the student name and age separately. Print student dot name. We can get it, we can say it. Print student dot underscore age this time, and we can see it. Now let's try getting the student role. Student dot double underscore and role. Okay, we have declared our class property with the same name which already exists in Python library. So we have to just rename it, and we can say student role. Student underscore role. And we can do it here. And here I'm replacing all this, and also here I'm replacing this. And I'm executing this piece of code first because I have renamed one property or field. So this one first, and then this one. And we can see we're getting one error. It's saying student object has no attribute underscore student underscore role. The reason is when we add 2 underscore, then it becomes private to this class or this object. So we can get access to these private fields or properties only inside this class, not from outside this class. Even if we inherit this class, we will not get access to these private fields and private methods. And we will know about inheritance in our next lecture. So now let's try getting access to all the methods we have declared inside our class. First, get name. And it should print name actually. Yes, it has printed Wasna. Now let's print get underscore age, and it has printed perfectly. What about get role? Let's try it. So print student dot underscore get role method. and execute it. And we can see the same error. Student object has no attribute underscore underscore get role. Because we have added double underscore at the beginning of this method and at the beginning of this property, so we are not getting access to this property and method from outside the class. What about this getInfo method? Let's try that. And interestingly, we can see all the data: name, age, and role. So now we could understand, if we declare any method or property using underscore underscore, or we can say using a double underscore at the beginning, then we cannot get access to this field or method from outside the class, but we can get access inside the class. That's it for now about Python scope and private fields and methods. In our next lecture, we will understand about inheritance in our Python object-oriented programming. In this lecture, we'll learn about inheritance in Python programming. Well, before we dive into Python programming and inheritance, let's think about real-life inheritance. Every son and daughter get some properties or assets from their parents, like some gene features in his body. And if we talk about the real life assets, then maybe your father's car or his house, you get it by inheritance. But think about some private properties which belongs only to your dad. Maybe it's your dad's ex-girlfriend's love letters. Yeah, sounds funny, but maybe. Or her ex-girlfriend's some presents, which really is his private properties and only belongs to him. He will most probably never share with his sons or daughters. And same goes in programming. When one class has some private fields or methods, other class who has inherited that class will not get access to these private fields and methods. Okay, enough talking. Now let's get into coding. Let's create 3 classes. One for student, one for teacher, and another for peons. So class student, and we want to have constructors for all the classes. So def init self.name. We will have a few properties or fields in every class, and also we will have a few methods in every class. So self name, age, role, fee. Okay, that's enough for now. And in our teacher class, instead of role, you will have ID, and instead of fee, you will have a salary. ID and salary. Also, he may have employee grade. So, grade. Or we can say employee grade actually. Salary and ID. And we can say employee grade and employee grade. Okay. And now the peon class. And these 3 fields will be same. Now, if we look closely, then we will see this name and age fields is available in all the classes. Okay, Now at this point, let's have a few methods in every classes. Like we may have getInfo method in all the class. So we can say if getInfo self and return string formatter and student name self.name student age self.age student role self.role and student fee self.fee. Same goes for all other classes. GetInfo and GetInfo. But for teacher, it will be teacher name. And teacher don't have role, rather he has ID. So teacher ID, and he has salary, and he has employee grade. Self.employee grade. Same goes for peon. Peon name, peon age, peon ID, peon salary, and peon employee grade. So we can see there are three methods getInfo in the same name in all three classes, and all three methods are returning the same thing, the information of that class or object. And also there are two fields in every classes, name and age. So here we can see the code redundant or code duplicacy. To get rid of this problem, we can implement inheritance. Inheritance is a kind of relationship between class to class or object to object. After looking closely into our classes, we can see we can create a new class and name it person. So we can say class person if init self name and age, and then self.name equal to name and self.age equal to age. And we can have one method called getInfo. If underscore getInfo or only getInfo, let's get rid of this underscore and just simply say getInfo and simply print one message for now. Print hi and comment these lines of code. Actually comment method, the getInfo method, in all three classes. And now let's implement the inheritance. All we can do, use one parenthesis like function parenthesis and pass our person class. We can see one squiggly here, one warning. Let's hover over it and we can see it saying person is not defined. So to solve this issue, we can just get the class and place it at the beginning. And now the error is gone. The warning is gone. Let's do the same thing for teacher and student class. And now to get access to the properties which is declared in our person class, we have to initialize the constructor here inside the student class. And to do that, all we have to say person, the class name dot the constructor method underscore init. Or we can say super instead of person or instead of the class name. Super, and we have to call this super including opening and closing parentheses. It's actually one method. So using the super method or using the class name which we are inheriting, we can call the init method or the constructor of that class. And inside the constructor argument, we have to pass the fields. For our case, we have name and age. So we will pass name and age. And now we don't need these two properties. So we're deleting it here and doing the same thing in every class. And we're ready to go. We can see now we don't have fields or properties named name and age in any of these classes. So here, let's create instance of student class. Student equal to student, and inside the constructor argument, let's pass name, age, role, and fee. Okay, name is maybe this time Maria, age is maybe 25 or say 21 because she is a varsity student. Okay, and after name, role let's say 101, and fee let's say $500 per month. Okay, and execute this code. Okay, it has executed perfectly. There is no error we can see. So if we want to print student.name, and we are getting access to name. Okay, awesome. So we don't have this field, the name field, in our student class, but still we can get access because we are inheriting the person class, and person class has the field name, and same will go for age. So let's test age, print age. So now we have one more problem to solve, the problem of the method getInfo. All the class will have the same method, but we have shifted it here inside our parent class. Okay, one more thing, the class we are inheriting, the person class, is called the parent class or the base class. So in our case, in this piece of program, the person is the parent class or the base class, and the class which is using this class, using this parent or base class as inheritance, like student, the student class is using the person class, the student class is inheriting something from person class. So here the student class is the child class or subclass. Now let's get back to the problem. We have implemented one common method for all the classes, the getInfo method. But we can see the difference in the implementation in all the classes. Like for student, it's returning student name. Actually, it's returning everything related to student. And inside the teacher class, the getInfo method is returning everything which is related to teacher. So let's uncomment this one because our name is different, so there will not be any clash. Same goes for peon. Inside the peon class, The getInfo method is returning everything which is related to only the peon class or only the peon object. Also, there are some differences in case of information or data, like the getInfo method inside peon and teacher is returning ID, salary, and employee grade instead of role and fee. Though we have the same type of method, same type of action, but we can see there are some difference in data. To resolve this issue, we can implement polymorphism. The term polymorphism is related to inheritance, and we will cover that in our next lecture. Okay, in this lecture we'll learn about polymorphism and abstraction. What is a polymorphism? The polymorphism is built in with two words, poly and morph or morphism. Poly means many and morph means shape. If something has multiple shape, more than one shape, then it's polymorph. In every programming language, there are polymorphism. But in Python, there is not directly something, but indirectly something. Let's first look at the built-in polymorphism methods and functions in Python. So let's get here, add a new cell, and here let's declare one list, name it names, and pass some names here. And if we want to check the length of this names list, then we can simply call the len function, the built-in Python function. And here goes the list names. And if we print it, or if we simply execute it, then we will see the length of the list. Awesome. We can see the length of the list is 3. And we can also see that there are 3 values in the list. Now let's declare another variable and name it name and assign one name, Maria. And now let's check the length of this string, because we know it's a string. The variable name is holding one string value, and now using the len function we can actually check the length of this string. And we can see the length is 5. So the same function, it's also counting the length of the string and also counting the length of the list. Can we declare some functions like that? Okay, let's try that. So def addition, and here we can pass 2 arguments, or we can say 3 arguments. So A, B, and C. And when we are accepting the third parameter, we can initialize with some values. So I'm saying if someone does not pass any value for his third arguments while calling the method addition, then just assign 0. Inside the method block, we can simply return A plus B plus C. And here, let's do our first call. So I'm declaring one variable, naming it result, and calling our method addition, and this time let's pass 3 values, 10, 15, and 19, and then print it. And we can see it has printed perfectly. Now let's call the method again and assign in some variable again. Let's say result again and addition. This time let's pass 2 values, one for argument A, let's pass 10, and one for argument B, let's pass 30, and execute it. And print the result variable. And we can see it's working perfectly. So we have declared one method which has multiple shapes. We can use the method and pass 2 argument values. Also, we can pass 3 argument values. Now let's go back to our object-oriented codes inside the classes what we have declared here. Here, we can declare one polymorphic method. But by default, Python does not support polymorphic method. So we have to use some mechanism to create one polymorphic method. Polymorphic method means there will be one method with one name but with multiple behavior, means it will give multiple output. So simply we can say pass, because we don't want to implement it here, and then we can actually try to execute it. We can see it's executing. Add a new code cell here. And now let's comment the implementation inside our subclass or child class. Commented it and execute it. And we can see there is no error. It's working perfectly. So our subclass is not bound to implement this one. If he is not bound to implement it, then we will not get the flavor of polymorphism. Because we are not bound to implement it, so we can name the method in different ways in different classes. And we can do the implementation. To force the implementation inside every subclass, we can make the method abstract. We can say add abstract method. And it actually belongs to in some other library, so we have to import the library. We can just double click here and we can see it's imported. And now let's try to execute the code again. It has executed perfectly. It has not thrown any error. So at this stage, we have to make the class abstract. And to make the class abstract, we have to import ABC, abstract base class. So from ABC library, we will import ABC and abstract method. And we have to pass this ABC using the function parenthesis inside the class which we want to make abstract, ABC, and execute the code again. And finally, we are getting one error here. Can't instantiate abstract class student with abstract method getInfo. Because now our base class is abstract and the method inside the base class getInfo is abstract, and our subclass student is inheriting this class, so we are bound to implement this getInfo method. Now let's go inside our student class and here simply implement this method. If getInfo and try to execute the code. Awesome, it's working perfectly. So now if we want, then we can change the implementation logic here inside every dependent class. I mean inside every subclass. I'm simply deleting it and uncommenting this one. And doing the same thing in all other classes. And executing it. Executing this piece of code. Okay, we are getting one error and let's go there. Okay, if you get some kind of error, then that could be because of indentation. So simply we can add one more extra space after every class after every class declaration and execute it again. And we can see the error is gone. And also our code is ready. So here simply we can call all the methods using all the objects. So first we have the student object, student dot get info, and execute it, and we can see the student info. Now let's add a new code cell here and execute employee and create an instance of teacher and peon class. And inside the class constructor of teacher, we have to pass the name, though it does not belong in the same class. I mean in the teacher class, it belongs inside the base class, the person class. Here. So teacher name may be looked for, and his age may be 30 or 35. His ID may be 101. Salary may be $5,000, and employee grade may be A. Same goes for peon. So here peon. Peon may be Daniel, my friend. I'm sorry, my friend Daniel. I'm using you as a peon. Still you are a teacher, but very soon I will make you peon. I'm really sorry for that. Okay, if you don't know about Daniel, Daniel is one YouTuber. Actually, he is not a YouTuber. He is a machine learning engineer, and he also do YouTubing, and he teaches stuff related to machine learning and artificial intelligence. I'm also doing the same thing. I'm coming with lots of machine learning, data science, and artificial intelligence and deep learning stuffs very soon. So my friend Daniel is peon now. I'm again sorry for this. And maybe his age is 25. His ID is let's keep us same, keep the same ID for both me and Daniel. And his salary is too much actually right now, so I'm making it 50,000 grand, 50,000 USD per month. And his grade, I cannot degrade my friend actually, but for the purpose of testing, we can make the grade B actually, and execute this piece of code. We're getting an error. What is it saying? It's saying can't instantiate abstract class teacher with abstract method get info. So what is the problem here? Execute this again and execute this again. Okay, there was simply the code indentation problem, so be sure about it. Now add new code cell here and try to get the info, the teacher info first. Teacher dot get info. Awesome. And teacher, sorry, my friend peon Daniel dot get info. Awesome. So in this lecture we have learned about polymorphism in class level. Also we have learned about abstraction silently. Now let us know one more important thing, when to use abstraction and when not to use. When we don't want anyone to instantiate our class and create an object, only then we will make our class abstract. So for our case, we have one base class person with one method and two fields. And we have created this class only for inheritance. Because we have written this class only for inheritance, and we don't want anyone to instantiate or create an object of this class, that's why we are making it abstract. So this class is available only for inheritance. If you want, then you can try creating an instance and creating one object of this person class. And let me know in comment below what you get in result. That's it for this lecture. See you soon in next lecture with some more exciting stuffs. In Python, an iterator is an object that is used to iterate over iterable objects like list, tuples, dictionary, sets, etc. The Python iterators object is initialized using the iter method, and it uses the next method for iteration. The iter method uses the double underscore like the init method, and it's called for the initialization of an iterator and returns an iterator object. Like the iterator method, the next method also uses the double underscores like the init method, and it returns the next value for the iterable. When we use a for loop to traverse any iterable object, internally it uses the iter method to get an iterator object, which further uses the next method to iterate over. The next method raises a stop iteration to signal the end of the iteration. Let's try iterating a list first. Then we will create our own iterator. Let's name the list names and assign a few values. And to iterate, simply we can use a for loop. We can say for name in range, and inside the range function we will say till the length of the list. So len names, and here simply we can print the name or we can print the index. So let's print the index. Print name. Actually, it's better we name it index. Awesome. Here we're iterating till its length, till the length of the list. Now let's create our own iterator. So we can say class, and let's name the iterator custom iterator. Okay. Create the class block, and inside the block let's create the constructor first. So def underscore underscore init, and here let's create one field, the field which will be used to stop the iteration. So we can name the field limit, self dot limit, and here let's take this limit from our class color or object color, or we can say from our iterator color, the limit. And inside the constructor argument we can accept self and limit. Now let's initialize the iterator, and for that we have to use the iter method. In the same way we use the constructor method, the init method. So def underscore underscore iter underscore underscore method, and inside the method block we will create another class field. This time we want to name it number of students, as we want to count the number of students. So we can say self dot number of students, and we can initialize it as 0, pass self keyword here, and return self. And now to iterate and to go to the next value we have to use the next method, def underscore underscore next underscore underscore, and the method block let's accept the self keyword first, Here, first of all, let's say if the number of students, so self dot number of students greater than or equal to limit, self dot limit, if block, and then raise the stop iteration, raise stop iteration. And if the number of student is not equal to or greater than limit, then what we will do? Simply self dot number of students plus equal to 1. We will increment into 1 every time we iterate, and then return self dot number of students. Execute this piece of code, and here simply we can say for I in custom iterator, and let's pass 10 here and print I. So it will print from 0 to 10. Let's execute it, and we can say, okay, I'm sorry, it has printed from 1 to 10. Actually, it should be. Okay, that's all for now about Python iterator. Let's learn about Python lambda function in our next lecture. A lambda function is a small anonymous function. It can take any number of arguments but can only have one expression. The syntax of the lambda function is the keyword lambda, then arguments, then colon, and then the expression. So let's take one argument for now and simply multiply 10 with the argument. So a multiplied by 10. And now let's assign it in a variable, execute it, and print it. As it's a function, so we have to use this variable as function with function parentheses. And inside the parentheses, we have to pass the argument. Let's pass 10 here. And if we execute it, then it should return 100. Perfect. As the lambda function can take any number of arguments, so let's try 3 arguments this time. Lambda, a, b, and c, colon, and the expression. Let's say a plus b multiplied by c. Assign in some variable, execute it, and print it. Y, function parentheses, and the arguments. Let's pass 15, 10, and 8, and execute it. Awesome, it's working perfectly. So we can see, first we're taking one or more arguments, then simply doing some executions based on the arguments and returning the execution. Always keep in mind that lambda function is syntactically restricted to a single expression. That's all for now about lambda function. See you in next lecture. To open a file, we have to use the built-in Python function open. And the open function takes 2 arguments. At first argument, it takes the file name with extension. like this. And here we have to specify the full directory path, including the file name and extension. And at the second argument, we have to pass the mode. And there are 4 different modes for opening a file. R for reading, A for append, W for write, and X for create. So, if we want to open the file for reading, then we will pass R at second argument, and then assign in a variable and call the read method and print it. And of course, the file must exist. If it does not exist, then we will get an error. Right now, we don't have the file in our directory, so we will get an error. Let's run the program and get the error. And it's saying no such file or directory, filename.txt. To get rid of this error, first we have to import the OS module. So, import OS. And then using the OS method, we can say if os.path.exist, and here we have to pass the path. For our case, filename.txt. And then inside the if block, we will say open the file, and then we will print the file. And now if we run the program, then we will not get the error. Also, we are not getting the output. The reason is file does not exist in the directory. So let's create the file. After the file is created, let's get the file location, copy path, pass here, and pass here. Well, right now there is nothing inside the file. So let's open the file and write something. Close the file and run the program. And we can see the output. Well, if we want to open the file and add some content in the file, then we have to use A. A stands for append. And then, instead of reading, we will say file.write. And inside the write method, we'll pass our value as a string. We can say new content added. After that, we have to close the file and then execute it. Okay, and now we can again say if os.path.exist file path, and inside the if block, let's read the file equal to open, read it, and then print it. File.read. And we can see our new content is added in the file. Well, if we want, then we can create a file in the directory. And for that, first of all, we have to check if the file already exists or not. So we can say if os.path.exist, then we will simply read it. Else, we can just create one file. We can just say open and the file name with the directory we want inside the content directory, and the file name, let's say file name 2.txt. Do the same thing here and here. And for creating file, we have to pass x at second argument. After that, if we need, we can write the file. We can say open the file with append mode and then add some content. So what are we doing here? We are saying if file name.txt file exists, then open it and read it. If it does not exist, then create the file and add some content in the file. And then read the file again and print it. So let's execute it. And we're getting an error. It's saying no such file or directory. The reason is there is no directory here named content. So either we can create one directory named content, or we can just get rid of this content directory and execute it. Okay, we are getting another error. The reason is this /. Get rid of this and execute the code again. And we can see the file has been created and the content has been added. To check, simply refresh the directory. Right click and refresh. We can see file name 2.txt has been created. And if we click here, then we can see the content inside the file. Now if we want, then we can remove this file using the remove method of os module. So we can say os.remove and the file name. And we have to pass the file name as a string. So we can say file name dot file name 2.txt and execute it and refresh the directory. Great. Well, we can also remove the directory or folder using the remove directory method. So let's create one directory, new folder. Let's name it new folder. And here let's write os.rmdir, stands for remove directory. And here let's pass the directory name as a string. We can say new folder and execute it and refresh the directory to check. We can see the directory has been removed. That's all about reading and deleting files for now. See you in next lecture. Okay, when we write code and get some error, the Python interpreter simply throws that error, shows that error message. Like if we just simply say print and some variable name, let's say name. and execute it, then we will simply get an error, and we can see the error, name is not defined. So there will be lots of scenarios like this, not only for undefined variables, but for a lot of scenarios where there will be some errors and Python interpreter will simply throw the errors. To get rid of these errors and to show custom errors, Python interpreter has some ways. Unlike some other programming language where there is try and catch, in Python there is try and except. Actually, there are 4 options. First we will try, so we will say try, okay, not curly braces actually, because I do a lot of programming languages and all other programming language actually uses curly braces except Python and R, so sometimes I make mistake. That's my bad, okay. And the try block, and after try block we will catch the error. So we will say for catching the error accept, accept. And after accepting, there are 2 more ways we can do. One is we can say else, and another is at finally we can say finally. Okay, in this way. But first we will use try and accept. And in the try block, we will simply print the name variable, the undefined name variable. Print and name. Okay, we're trying. After trying, we will definitely get an error. Name is not defined error. The variable is not defined error. And then we can accept the error. And in the accept block, we can actually print or show some custom error. Let's say print and say variable name is not defined. And if we execute this piece of code, then we will not get as usual error which Python interpreter shows. We will see our custom error. So let's execute it, and we can see our custom error this time. And if we want, then we can also add else section here. The else section actually do if there is no error. If it does not go in the accept block, then it will come in the else section. So we can simply say print no error. So if we execute this piece of code, there is an error, so it will simply show the variable name is not defined error, our custom error. Let's execute it to test, and we can see that one. But if we have the name variable declared, so let's declare it outside of our try block. We can also declare inside of our try block, that doesn't matter actually. So here we're saying name equal to Maria and executing it. Can you guess what will happen? Okay, let me explain it first, then we will run the program. First it will come inside the try block and it will print the name, and it will not go inside the accept block. Because it's not going in the accept block, so it will come inside the else block. Okay, let's execute it. And we are right. First it's printing the name, and then it's printing the error. Sorry, no error message from the else section. What about finally? Okay, the finally block is always executed if there is an error or not. So if we use try except code block for writing some codes, and also add else and finally, and there is no error, then it will come inside the try block, execute all the code, and then come inside the else block because there is no error, and then it will print the finally statement. And if there is an error, Then it will come inside the try block, get the error, come inside the accept block, throw our custom message, and then it will not go inside the else block, but it will come inside the finally block and show the final message, final error message. So we can understand that finally will be executed in all this scenario if there is an error or not. So let's simply come inside the finally block and print finally there's no error. Okay, there is no error, and execute it. And we can see it has printed the name and it has come inside the else block because there is no error, and it has come inside the finally block. What about if we have an error? Let's check that. Let's delete the declaration of the variable and execute this piece of program. And we can see it has come inside the accept block, it has thrown our custom error message, and it has not gone inside the else block, and it has come inside the finally block. Hope you guys have understood how try and except works in Python.